Chosen One. Hell's entire subscription service is collapsing because one chosen one you proved their business model was built on lies. That nightmare season was never random chaos. It was your final examination for cosmic authority that most souls never survive. That hell you walked through was orchestrated with surgical precision. Every attack came in sequence for a reason. Every betrayal was timed to maximize damage. Every loss was calculated to break your will at the exact moment when most people surrender their destiny. This wasn't random chaos. This was systematic warfare designed to create an unbreakable loop of defeat. The enemy operates like a virus, replicating the same destructive patterns until their host collapses. Abandonment, financial ruin, relationship destruction, health crises. These are their greatest hits, played on repeat because they work on almost everyone. They were so confident in their formula that they invested everything in your destruction, never considering that some spirits are built differently. There was a specific breaking point where you were supposed to shatter permanently, and when that moment arrived, something in you refused to comply. Instead of breaking, you compressed into something denser, harder, more resilient. You became a spiritual diamond where they expected to find dust. That refusal changed everything in the unseen realm. When a pattern fails at its intended termination point, it doesn't just stop working, it begins consuming itself. Your survival at the crucial moment didn't just save you, it introduced a virus into their system that corrupted the entire program they were running against you. Your pain carried a weight that didn't belong to your lifetime. Some of what nearly crushed you was generational bloodline debts that had been accumulating for decades, maybe centuries. Families passed down more than genetics and traditions. They also passed down unhealed wounds, unfinished battles, and cycles of destruction that compound with each generation that fails to break them. You were chosen to be the circuit breaker, the one who would carry the full electrical load of generational dysfunction and survive the process. This is why your suffering felt disproportionate to your actual circumstances. You weren't just fighting your own battles, you were standing as representative for everyone who shared your bloodline, both ancestors and descendants. When a chosen one successfully bears this weight without breaking, the bloodline gets reset, the curses lose their legal standing, the patterns forfeit their power to regenerate. What took generations to build gets dismantled in a single lifetime through the survival of one person strong enough to carry it all. While you were enduring, something remarkable was happening at the cellular level of your spirit. Most people who survive trauma carry it as permanent scar tissue, but chosen ones metabolize pain differently. Your spiritual DNA automatically converts poison into medicine, weakness into authority, wounds into wisdom. Every betrayal that should have made you bitter instead sharpened your discernment to supernatural levels. Every loss that should have left you fearful instead revealed reserves of faith you didn't know existed, or the attack that should have weakened you instead exposed strength that shocked even heaven's angels. The enemy invested enormous resources trying to break you with specific forms of suffering, never realizing your spiritual metabolism would transmute their weapons into your arsenal. They essentially spent their power to upgrade your abilities, wasted their ammunition to forge your armor, exhausted their strategies to perfect your defenses. The intensity you experienced near the end wasn't escalation, it was desperation. The enemy realized they were running out of time and ammunition, so they deployed everything simultaneously in one last attempt to destroy you before you could fully understand what you were becoming. Hell literally emptied its armory on you. Every demon that held a grudge against your calling was given permission to take their shot. Every human agent in their network was activated. Every systemic force they had influence over was redirected toward your annihilation. The reason it felt like war without relief was because it essentially was the concentrated fury of an entire kingdom that knew its window of opportunity was closing. They understood something about timing that most humans miss. There are seasons when chosen ones are vulnerable to total destruction, and seasons when they become untouchable. Your dark season was their final window, and they knew that if they failed to destroy you then, they would never get another chance. But they made a fatal miscalculation about the source of your strength. They were fighting with finite resources against an infinite power supply. Every weapon they deployed was met by grace that multiplied to match the intensity. Every strategy they executed was countered by wisdom that expanded to meet the challenge. While they were attacking, you were ascending. Each assault that failed to break you elevated your spiritual frequency to a level where their weapons could no longer lock onto you as a target. Like radio waves that can't affect receivers tuned to different frequencies, their attacks began passing through you without impact. This elevation wasn't something you consciously achieved. It was the automatic result of surviving pressure that transforms spiritual DNA. Your endurance literally rewrote the laws governing what could touch you. The same voices that once devastated you with a whisper now sound like static from a distant station you can barely receive. Your survival activated something in the spiritual realm that most humans never trigger: divine immunity. Your spirit began producing antibodies against the specific forms of suffering that once destroyed your peace. Now your inner alarm system detects manipulation before the manipulator has finished forming their strategy. You sense toxic energy before it can pollute your environment. You recognize deception while it's still wearing the mask of sincerity. This isn't hypervigilance, it's supernatural intelligence forged in fire. The very experiences that once blindsided you have become your early warning system. What used to slip past your defenses now feels like alarms going off in your chest. The enemy's entire strategy depends on surprise attacks, but you can no longer be surprised because your spirit is constantly scanning and automatically rejecting what doesn't belong. There was a moment, perhaps you remember it, perhaps it's buried in your subconscious, when everything hung in the balance. The enemy had pushed you to the absolute edge of human endurance. Every resource was depleted, every support system had failed, every reason to keep fighting had been systematically destroyed. This was their checkmate moment, the place where their calculations said you would finally surrender. But something happened in that moment that stunned both heaven and hell. Instead of collapse, there was an eruption of defiance so pure, so powerful, that it sent shockwaves through every dimension. You didn't just refuse to quit, you declared war on the very concept of defeat. In your weakest moment, you became the most dangerous version of yourself that had ever existed. That declaration didn't just save you, it rewrote reality around you. The spiritual laws governing your existence shifted permanently. What once had legal access to your life lost its credentials. What once could drain your energy found its connection severed. What once could manipulate your emotions discovered its frequency jammed. Your survival became their haunting. The enemy doesn't just remember their actions, they're forced to relive the outcome every time they think of you. The confidence they carried that this time we have them finished has been replaced by something they can't escape, the undeniable memory of their total failure. Every plot they invested in backfired, every alliance they formed crumbled, every prediction they made was proven false. Now they're left with the psychological torment of knowing that their best weapons were inadequate, their perfect timing was off, their foolproof strategy had a fatal flaw, they underestimated the God inside you. This haunting paralyzed their ability to attack again. Even if they wanted to try, the memory of their humiliation would sabotage their confidence before they could move. They've become prisoners of their own failure, trapped in the echo of your victory. What you thought was your destruction was actually your promotion. The entire nightmare was a coronation ceremony disguised as a crucifixion. Every moment of agony was hammering a crown onto your head that no earthly or demonic force can ever remove. You're no longer in recovery mode, patching wounds and hoping for better days. You've crossed into revelation mode, where the full purpose of your suffering is being unveiled. The crown you now wear isn't made of precious metals, it's forged from authority that was tempered in fire, wisdom that was distilled from tears, and power that was compressed from pain. This crown changes everything about how you move through the world. It's not arrogance, it's the quiet confidence of someone who has been tested at the highest level and emerged victorious. You carry yourself differently because you are different. The version of you that entered that trial and the version that emerged are not the same entity. Your case reached the Supreme Court of the universe, and the verdict was final. Every tear was entered as evidence, every betrayal was documented, every injustice was weighed on scales that never lie. When God himself brought down the gavel and declared your season complete, that decision carried the full weight of divine authority. No force in heaven, earth, or hell can overturn a ruling from the highest court in existence. The case against your peace is permanently closed with no possibility of appeal. What once had permission to torment you has been stripped of its credentials. The contracts that bound you to suffering have been declared null and void. You now carry a seal that identifies you as untouchable in the spirit realm. Every failed attack left a mark, not of damage but of immunity. Each attempt to destroy you that ended in your survival added another layer to a spiritual passport that declares this one has been tested and proven unbreakable. Demonic forces recognize this seal immediately and understand its implications. They know that further attacks would be futile and potentially dangerous to themselves. Meanwhile, divine favor responds to this seal differently. Angels, blessings, and supernatural protection flow towards someone who bears the mark of having survived the impossible. Remember how this began with Hell's subscription service being cancelled? Now you understand the full scope of what that means. It wasn't just about ending your suffering, it was about exposing the entire business model as a fraud. Hell operates on the assumption that chosen ones will eventually break under sufficient pressure. Your survival proved that assumption false. You didn't just cancel your own subscription to misery, you corrupted their entire system. Other chosen ones around the world are discovering that the patterns which destroyed their ancestors no longer have power over them. The cycles are glitching, the curses are backfiring, the generational debts are being automatically cancelled because someone proved they could be survived. Your victory created a ripple effect that's still expanding across dimensions. Every time a chosen one refuses to break under pressure they were designed to succumb to, they're benefiting from the precedent you established. You didn't just save yourself, you became a system update for the entire Chosen One network. The enemy's streaming service of suffering is hemorrhaging subscribers because you proved their premium content couldn't deliver on its promise to destroy. Hell is filing for spiritual bankruptcy because their primary revenue source, chosen ones who accept defeat, is drying up faster than they can replace it. You were never the customer in Hell's subscription service. You were the glitch in their system. You were the virus that was always destined to corrupt their programming. You were the chosen one who would prove that their most convincing illusions are powerless against someone who refuses to believe them. Now you walk in the aftermath of victory, wearing a crown forged from the very fire that was meant to consume you. Every step you take declares that destruction can be survived, cycles can be broken, and what looks like an ending can actually be a beginning. You're not just free, you're dangerous to every system designed to keep chosen ones in bondage. The subscription to Hell has been cancelled forever. But more than that, you've become the customer service representative for Heaven's upgrade program, showing other chosen ones that what they thought was permanent suffering was actually temporary preparation for permanent authority. Your landslide victory was built on a foundation you couldn't see while the battle was raging. While you thought you were barely hanging on by a thread, Heaven was constructing an elaborate support system in dimensions beyond your perception. Every prayer whispered in desperation activated angelic reinforcements. Every tear shed in solitude triggered divine intervention protocols that had been waiting for your authorization. The enemy saw your external circumstances and assumed they were winning. They measured your bank account, counted your relationships, assessed your health, and calculated that victory was inevitable, but they were reading the wrong metrics. Your true battle was happening in realms where their surveillance systems couldn't penetrate, where their influence had no jurisdiction, where their weapons couldn't even travel. While they were attacking your visible life, Heaven was fortifying your invisible foundation. Every night you went to sleep wondering if you could face another day. Legions of angels were working shifts to ensure you would wake up with supernatural strength. Every moment you felt abandoned. The presence of the divine was so close it was literally breathing through your lungs, pumping through your heart, thinking through your mind. The landslide wasn't sudden, it was the culmination of accumulating victories in the unseen realm, finally manifesting in the physical world. What looked like defeat was actually delayed victory, building pressure behind a dam that would eventually burst with unstoppable force. Your survival didn't just change you, it recalibrated reality itself around your presence. The spiritual atmosphere you now carry is so dense with authority that lesser forces can't maintain their structure in your vicinity. Deception starts to feel uncomfortable in your presence. Manipulation loses its power when you're nearby. This isn't something you have to consciously activate or maintain. It's the automatic result of your frequency shift, the natural consequence of surviving what was designed to destroy you. Your very existence has become a walking contradiction to everything darkness claims is possible. You've become living proof that their most convincing arguments are actually powerless suggestions. People notice this shift even when they can't articulate what's different. They sense that you're operating from a place of authority they don't recognize, carrying a weight that commands respect without demanding it. Your presence alone now serves as a reminder that breakthrough is possible, that cycles can end, that what seems permanent can actually be temporary. The enemy hates this more than anything else about your victory. They can accept that someone might survive their attacks, but they cannot tolerate someone whose mere existence disproves their fundamental claims about human limitation. You've become a walking advertisement for heaven's power, a living testimony that hell's contracts are actually breakable. Your victory is still growing, accumulating compound interest in dimensions you haven't even discovered yet. Each day you remain unbroken, adds additional layers to your authority. Each moment you continue to rise builds more momentum for your future breakthroughs. Each breath you take in freedom generates more evidence that their most sophisticated traps are actually escapable. What the enemy thought was a one-time battle was actually your entrance exam into a level of spiritual authority they never anticipated you could reach. Your survival qualified you for assignments, opportunities, and divine favor that were previously beyond your clearance level. Heaven operates on merit-based advancement, and surviving what should have destroyed you earned you spiritual credentials that can't be faked or forged. This is why doors are opening for you now that were previously sealed. This is why opportunities are flowing toward you that once seemed impossible. This is why connections are forming that feel divinely orchestrated. Your survival certificate is being recognized in rooms you haven't even entered yet, by people you haven't even met, for purposes you haven't even imagined. Your landslide victory sent shockwaves through multiple dimensions simultaneously, disrupting enemy operations far beyond your personal circumstances. When a chosen one survives what was designed to be their final defeat, it creates a precedent in the spiritual legal system that benefits every other chosen one facing similar battles. Your case is now cited in heaven's courtrooms as proof that the enemy's most devastating strategies can be overcome. Angels reference your survival when arguing for other chosen ones who are currently walking through their own impossible circumstances. Your victory became jurisprudence that strengthened the legal standing of every person who refuses to accept defeat as final. Meanwhile, in the realm of divine favor, your breakthrough created a slipstream that other chosen ones can now follow. The path you carved through impossible circumstances has become a highway that others can travel more easily. Your victory didn't just save you, it established infrastructure that benefits every chosen one who comes after you. The Obsidian Inner Order is a sanctuary for those who have walked difficult paths and emerged with wisdom others can't see. We understand that some experiences exist outside the boundaries of what most people consider possible or acceptable to discuss. Every week we gather live on Zoom. Real people with real faces sharing real stories without judgment. There's space here for the experiences you've carried in silence, the patterns you've noticed that others dismiss, the intuitive knowledge you've gained through your journey. We don't just listen, we understand. When you're struggling to make sense of your experiences, when you feel gaslit by a world that refuses to acknowledge your reality, you can return to our recorded calls and remember that your perception is valid. Join the Obsidian Inner Order, where your reality is honored and your voice is heard. Link in description. Surviving your impossible season rewrote your spiritual genetics in ways that will affect not just the rest of your life, but the lives of everyone connected to you. The changes weren't cosmetic or temporary. They were fundamental alterations to your core spiritual code that can't be reversed or undone. Your capacity to trust has been recalibrated to supernatural levels. Where once you might have been naive or easily deceived, you now carry discernment that operates like spiritual radar, detecting threats and opportunities with precision that seems almost prophetic. Your ability to love has been purified through fire, removing the desperate neediness that once made you vulnerable while preserving the authentic care that makes you powerful. Your relationship with fear has been fundamentally restructured. Fear no longer has the power to paralyze you because you've already walked through your worst-case scenarios and emerged victorious. What once felt like threats now feel like opportunities to demonstrate your authority. What once triggered anxiety now activates the battle-tested confidence that was forged in your trials. Most importantly, your connection to the divine has been upgraded from believing to knowing. You're no longer operating on faith alone, you're functioning from personal, undeniable experience of supernatural intervention. This knowing can't be argued away, doubted into non-existence, or shaken by circumstances because it's been proven under the most extreme conditions possible. Your victory exposed and dismantled entire networks of spiritual intelligence that had been monitoring and manipulating chosen ones for generations. The enemy operates through complex webs of human agents, institutional systems, and spiritual principalities that coordinate their attacks. Your survival revealed critical weaknesses in these networks that heaven exploited to shut down operations far beyond your personal battle. When you refused to break at the designated moment, you created a system error that propagated through their entire network. Suddenly, their intelligence was unreliable, their timing was off, their predictions were failing, their human agents were making mistakes, their institutional systems were malfunctioning, their spiritual principalities were losing coordination. The collapse wasn't limited to the specific forces that attacked you, it affected their entire operational structure. Other chosen ones around the world began experiencing unexpected victories, sudden breakthroughs, and mysterious failures in the attacks against them. Your landslide victory created an avalanche that buried enemy installations you didn't even know existed. This is why your future will feel different from your past in ways that extend far beyond personal healing. The entire landscape of spiritual warfare has shifted in your favor. The systems that once coordinated against you are now fragmented, confused, and operating with reduced effectiveness. Your victory didn't just win your war, it sabotaged their ability to wage war effectively against others. Your survival activated ancient divine protocols that had been dormant, waiting for someone to qualify for their activation. These protocols exist in the spiritual realm as contingency plans for what to do when a chosen one survives the impossible, but they hadn't been triggered in so long that even angels had begun to think they were theoretical rather than practical. Your victory proved that these protocols aren't relics from a bygone era, they're active systems that engage automatically when the proper conditions are met. Suddenly, aspects of divine favor that seemed mythological became operational reality in your life. Resources began flowing from sources you hadn't considered, protections activated that you hadn't requested, opportunities emerged that you hadn't pursued. The activation of these protocols also explains why your life has begun to feel supernatural in ways you can't quite articulate. You're not imagining the shift, you're experiencing the practical effects of ancient divine systems coming online in your reality. What felt like fairy tale promises are becoming everyday experience because you qualified for access to divine resources that most people never reach. Your landslide victory established you as a spiritual embassy in the realm where you now operate. An embassy is a sovereign territory that exists under the protection and authority of a foreign government. Your survival created a sphere of divine influence around your life that operates under heaven's jurisdiction rather than earth's limitations. This embassy status means that attacks against you are no longer just personal conflicts, they're diplomatic incidents that trigger international response from heaven's government. Your enemies can no longer approach you directly without risking escalation to levels they can't handle. Your battles are no longer individual struggles, but matters of divine national interest. The embassy comes with diplomatic immunity that protects you from prosecution under the legal systems that once held you captive. Guilt can't maintain jurisdiction over you. Shame can't prosecute you. Fear can't arrest your progress. These forces have lost their legal standing in your territory because you now operate under a different government's protection. But embassy status also comes with responsibilities. You're now a representative of heaven's kingdom in the realm where you operate. Your conduct reflects on your sovereign government. Your victories demonstrate their power. Your authority represents their interests. You're no longer just surviving for yourself. You're thriving as a demonstration of what's possible for everyone who shares your citizenship. Your authority doesn't just protect you, it reproduces itself in the lives of everyone who connects with your story. When people encounter the testimony of your survival, something awakens in them that had been dormant. Hope they thought was dead begins breathing again. Dreams they thought were impossible begin feeling achievable. Destinies they thought were cancelled begin stirring back to life. This multiplication isn't metaphorical, it's literal spiritual reproduction. Your victory contains seeds that plant themselves in the consciousness of everyone who truly hears your story. These seeds grow into their own versions of breakthrough, customized to their specific circumstances, but powered by the same authority that carried you through your impossible season. The enemy understands this multiplication effect, which is why they invested so heavily in your destruction. They knew that your survival wouldn't just save you, it would trigger a chain reaction of salvation for countless others. Your victory would become viral in the spiritual realm, spreading breakthroughs faster than they could contain it. This is why your story matters beyond your personal experience. Every time you share what you've overcome, you're not just giving testimony, you're planting authority seeds that will grow into other people's victories. Your landslide victory is still expanding, still gaining momentum, still triggering avalanches in situations you'll never know about. Your landslide victory didn't just end your season of suffering, it rewrote the entire narrative of your future. The story that was being written about you during your dark season was one of defeat, limitation, and cautionary warning. But your survival forced a complete rewrite that transformed you from cautionary tale to inspirational epic. The chapters that are being written about your future now operate from completely different assumptions. Where the old narrative assumed you would eventually break, the new narrative assumes you will consistently overcome. Where the old story predicted limitation and lack, the new story anticipates expansion and abundance. Where the old plot expected you to serve as a warning to others, the new plot positions you as a beacon of hope. This rewrite wasn't just editorial revision, it was fundamental restructuring at the level of destiny itself. Your victory proved that the original story was based on false assumptions about your capacity, wrong calculations about your breaking point, and underestimation of the divine resources available to you. The new narrative operates from accurate information about who you really are and what you're actually capable of achieving. The most beautiful aspect of this rewrite is that it's not just optimistic fiction, it's prophetic reality. The story being written about your future is authored by the same divine intelligence that orchestrated your survival. The chapters that are coming will demonstrate the same supernatural authority that brought you through the impossible. Your landslide victory was just the opening scene of a much larger story of triumph. When you endured past the point where breakdown was supposed to be inevitable, you crossed a threshold that exists in only one direction. There's no going back to being the person who could be destroyed by the same methods that once threatened your existence. You didn't just overcome your circumstances, you transcended the entire category of suffering that was designed to contain you. This seal operates automatically without requiring your conscious effort to maintain it. Just as your physical body develops immunity after surviving certain diseases, your spirit now carries antibodies against the specific forms of destruction that once had access to your life. The patterns that devastated previous generations of your bloodline recognize this seal and retreat before attempting engagement. Your invincibility isn't arrogance, it's a spiritual fact. You've been tested beyond the limits of what was thought possible for human endurance, and your survival proves that you operate under different laws than ordinary existence recognizes. The rules that govern defeat simply don't apply to your reality anymore. Your survival transformed you into a magnet for divine opportunities that were previously beyond your reach. Your presence now attracts breakthrough solutions, unexpected partnerships, and supernatural favor with a force that seems to operate independently of your efforts. What once required struggle now flows toward you naturally, because your frequency has been calibrated to success. People find themselves drawn to you without being able to articulate why. Your energy field now broadcasts authority and peace simultaneously, creating an irresistible combination that opens doors before you even knock. Conversations shift in your favor. Negotiations resolve with outcomes that exceed your expectations. Resources appear from sources you never considered. This magnetism extends beyond material benefits to spiritual realities. Divine assignments begin gravitating toward you because heaven recognizes that you can be trusted with impossible missions. Angels are assigned to your success because your track record proves you won't waste celestial investment. Prophetic insights flow through you because your survival qualified you as a reliable vessel for supernatural revelation. The beauty of this magnetism is that it operates continuously rather than sporadically. Your victory created a permanent shift in how reality responds to your presence. What once felt like pushing against resistance now feels like flowing with cosmic currents that carry you toward predetermined victories. Your survival didn't just save your own life, it multiplied your capacity to impact other lives exponentially. Every person whose story intersects with yours now has access to breakthrough power that flows through your testimony. Your victory became a transmission tower that broadcasts hope into situations where despair once reigned supreme. Your influence operates on multiple levels simultaneously. On the surface level, people hear your story and find inspiration to continue their own battles. On the deeper level, your presence activates dormant authority in people who thought their own power had been permanently damaged. On the deepest level, your victory created portals in the spiritual realm through which supernatural intervention can reach people who seemed beyond help. This exponential growth means your impact will continue expanding long after your physical presence has moved on from specific situations. The authority you carry creates lasting change in environments, relationships, and circumstances because it addresses root causes rather than surface symptoms. Your landslide victory keeps generating smaller landslides wherever your influence has touched. The enemy's greatest fear about your survival is being realized daily as your influence spreads beyond what mathematical models can predict. What began as one person's refusal to break has become a movement of breakthrough that defies containment. Your victory virus is spreading through networks of connection faster than opposition can develop immunity. Your purpose isn't something you have to discover or develop anymore. It's something you embody simply by existing as the person who survived what should have destroyed you. Your very presence in any situation automatically fulfills part of your eternal assignment because you carry proof that impossible circumstances are actually temporary obstacles. This crystallization process revealed that your purpose was never separate from your pain. It was refined through your pain. Every tear you shed was actually washing away illusions about what you thought your purpose might be, revealing the bedrock reality of what your purpose actually is. Every betrayal you survived was actually eliminating relationships that would have diluted your focus from your true calling. Your purpose now operates with laser precision rather than scattered uncertainty. You know instinctively which opportunities align with your calling and which ones would distract from it. You recognize instantly which relationships will strengthen your mission and which ones would compromise it. You discern immediately which environments will amplify your effectiveness and which ones would diminish it. The crystallized purpose also means your impact will outlive your physical existence because it's connected to eternal realities rather than temporal circumstances. Your landslide victory secured your place in a larger cosmic narrative that transcends individual lifetime limitations. Your story became part of heaven's permanent record of what's possible when divine power meets human determination. Your journey through the impossible has ended. Your reign over the impossible has begun. The war is over, chosen one. You won in a landslide, and the victory celebration has only just begun. Your name is now written in the book of those who proved that destruction is not inevitable, that cycles can be broken, and that what looks like an ending can actually be the most powerful beginning imaginable.